Okay. And so what I'm going to do is first find an object or a model that I want to throw into my scene. So as I mentioned, there's a bunch of different places you can find models where you can download them. So Sketchfab is a good one. Um, they have a whole bunch of stuff on here. A lot of it is paid, but you can find free stuff and you can find Creative Commons stuff as well. And they have like a good viewer. That's kind of their main thing is like they have a good viewer for 3D objects, and I think it's like semi-free if you wanted to like put your own stuff on here. I think they like limit how much you can upload like per month or something like that, but it's been a while since I actually put anything I made on here, so they may have changed that. Anyway, this is a good place. There's also like Google Warehouse is another place where you can find a ton of um, 3D models that you might want to put in the scene. More like, as you can see, it's a lot of architectural stuff, but you can search in there and find a lot of different types of things in there. That's a good one. Another one that's pretty famous is Turbo Squid. I mean, there's a million of these things. If you just like look up 3D model, Creative Commons, or something like that, you'll find a ton of this stuff. But Turbo Squid is also a really popular one. You can just search in here. They also have other stuff in here as well besides 3D models. But yeah, there's a few different ways you can find it. With three.js, let's actually take a look at the loaders before we choose a model. So I'm going to go to the three.js website and go to documentations, and I'm just going to type in loader here, and you'll see the different types of loaders that we can use. There's loaders for all sorts of different things like audio, textures, files, materials, objects, all sorts of different stuff. But there's also loaders for different types of 3D formats. GLTF is kind of like the main one that people use now. It's not really that new at this point. It's been around for a while, and a lot of the web-based, but also other 3D environments move to this just because it's a little bit more efficient, and I found that it works especially with three.js, but I've found with other programs as well, it's just like it works way faster than most of the other ones, at least in terms of just like I don't really get a lot of bugs with this one, and it's pretty simple to use. So that's what I'm going to look for. But if you do 3D modeling and you happen to use other formats, you can see if your formats are on here. So like OBJ is also a really popular format for 3D models. It can load those as well. It works pretty well. I've used this one in the past. I really haven't used most of these other ones. I thought it had an FBX loader, but I don't actually see that anymore. FBX used to be like the main one for animation, but it looks like that's gone. I wonder if that turned into something else. They used to have like a JSON based one as well, but yeah, I don't see that on here anymore. Um, but yeah, there's a few other formats on here that I'm not super familiar with. But we're going to stick with GLTF for now. And you also, if you find a model that isn't in one of these formats, it's usually pretty easy to sort of convert that model into a new format using Blender or other software. So anyway, let's look for a GLTF and add that into our scene. So hopefully there's a way to specify GLTF, but I'm going to go to Explore here. And so I want downloadable. I'm not going to do animated for now because that it kind of introduces some issues, or not issues, but it just introduces more things that I'm going to have to work on. Let's get an animal into the scene. So I'm going to do animals and pets. So this is pretty cool. And let's see. Licenses. So let's turn off the standard and editorial license. Any CC license should be fine. And let's see. I'm not going to sort. Um, I guess I can't sort by file type, but hopefully the file will be able to download different types of files. So there's some pretty cool animals in here. Let's see. What do I want to use? I don't want to do something like too complicated because it's going to take a while to load. Although this bug is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool bug. Um, let's see. I should go with something simple. I kind of like this rabbit. This is pretty cool. Oh, it is animated. I'm gonna skip that for now. Oh, this is another cool bug. I don't know why I'm interested in bugs right now. Skeleton of a bathtub duck. That's pretty funny. Uh, okay, let's do a rubber duck. This one's gonna be really simple. There's not a ton of geometry in here. Um, I'm just gonna do this one. It's kind of funny too. And okay, so it's loading the model. We can take a look at it. Um, and yeah, that looks fine. This should be good. And it also has like a view in VR if you have a VR headset. And you can change the textures and stuff. There's a bunch of different settings that we can do here. But we want to just download this. So let's go down here, click on download 3D model. Uh-oh, I have to log in. Forgot about this. Hopefully I can remember my thing, or actually maybe I'll just log in with, I think I already have my BMCC Google thing set up here. So I'll just use that. Um, uh, can I skip this? No, okay, whatever. Oh boy. Well, you'll probably have to make these accounts anyway if you use Sketchfab. So I'm just gonna put other here, just continue. Okay. Now I lost my model. Okay, let's see if I go back. There we go. Okay. So now I want to download. And okay, so now we see the available formats. And so we can see there's FBX, that's 30 megabytes, that's big. USDZ is 4, that's not bad. GLTF is 7 megabytes, so it's a little bit better, but it's still kind of big. And then there's also GLB. GLB is similar to GLTF, but it separates the file into textures and other components. So we could do that as well. I'm going to go with GLTF for now, just it'll be simpler. And it is 7 megabytes, so I was expecting this to be small since the duck is really small, but that's okay. Or it's not very detailed. Anyway, let's take a look at that in my downloads folder. Let's delete all this crap. So it comes in a little zip folder. We can, let's just open it and take a look. So there's the textures. Let's see, the textures are they're not that big. Oh, there are a bunch of them. So yeah, that's kind of where most of the file size is coming is from these textures. This is 3 megabytes and 1.5, and that's almost 2. So maybe not the best choice, but we already downloaded it, so let's stick with it. So there's my bin file. That's all the geometry data. There's a license file here, and there's a 3D object file here. Um, I hate how Windows doesn't show you file extensions. Let's turn the file extensions on. There we go. So that's our GLTF. That's our bin file. And those are the textures. But I think we can just upload this whole thing as a zip. I don't think we need to unzip it. I think it'll be able to, I'm pretty sure, read it as a zip. Let's take a look at the documentation first. So, oh, maybe it wants. I'm just going to Google that real quick. 3JS load GLTF from zip. Da, da, da. Okay. Oh, it looks like it's a little more challenging if I do a zip. So let's just do a folder. Hopefully Glitch is gonna let me upload everything. So let's unzip this. So I'm gonna go to extract all, and I'll just leave it in the downloads for now. And so, I'm a little bit worried that Glitch isn't gonna like this because it's a folder with a bunch of stuff in it, but let's give it a try. So I'm gonna go over to Glitch now, um, and go to my project. Okay. And so I'm gonna load in um, my GLTF here inside this load function. So I want to create a loading manager first and then load a GLTF file. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So let's see if we can add in our asset. So I'm going to click upload an asset and go to downloads and open. Oh, okay, it's not going to let me open this up. Um, okay. So let's just get the GLTF up here. Let's see if, will it let me open all the textures at the same time? No, it won't. Hmm. Okay. Or what if I do, no, crap. Okay. So let's just upload the GLTF first, and then let's also put the zip in here. And we'll see if we can work this out. So I'll upload the zip. Okay. So normally what happens is you have to have your files in the same place. You have to have like your GLTF and then your other assets in the same place, and it's going to read them that way. Um, it may be challenging to do that in the glitch editor, unfortunately. But let's see if there's another. Oh, somebody else wrote like a whole zip loader. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, if somebody had to write a whole package for this, then it's probably not super easy to do. Um, but maybe there's a script that we can just steal from this. Let's see, build ziploader.min.js. Okay, maybe we can use this. Demo with GLTF model. Okay, this looks promising. Let's take a look at the code. My computer is so slow. Okay. So ziploader.js. Oh, it's too complicated. Yeah, this is too much stuff. Okay, let's just load the GLTF and see what it looks like, and um, we can kind of go from there. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is add in our loading manager so that we can load multiple things because we have our scene with the little bench, and we don't want to get rid of that. We just want to add this rubber duck in there. So I'm going to look for the manager. And so we have the loading manager. And so the loading manager basically just you can essentially just add it as an argument to your loaders. So if you have a loader, you just put the manager as the main argument. And so the loader will keep track of the files. And so the files still need their own callback function for when they get loaded. But the manager you can use for when everything is loaded to then initialize your scene. So that's the basic setup. So let's copy some of this code and add it in here. So I'm going to copy this and go over to the assets, or sorry, my glitch, and go to script.js. And so let's add in our loading manager. And basically, once we have a manager, all we have to do is put the manager as the argument to all of our loaders. So we have this like object loader here, and we just throw the manager in there, and that'll automatically connect it to the loading manager. So now I can leave this callback function the same, but then I'm going to take out this onload callback here, and I'm going to add that to the manager. So now I think all I need to do is go to manager.onload, and this is what happens when we're done loading. And I'll put this right under the manager. And so we can leave that log in there if we want to. But now our loading manager is going to call our onload function instead of our loader. So the manager will wait for this loader and other loaders that we use before it calls this onload function. So let's see if that worked. It shouldn't really change anything about how the program works so far. So let's open this in a new window, and let's open our um, console, and we already have an error. Sweet. Okay, so let's see what happened. Script 32 uh, properties are undefined, and our bench is missing. Well, at least the rest of our scene worked. Let's take a look at what we missed. So script line 32, scene. Oh, we have to load before we add our bench. So, okay, basically what we need to do is what we'll have to do is just assign this bench to a global value. The problem that's happening here is now actually since I'm initializing the scene after I finish this loader, now the scene doesn't exist when I'm trying to add the bench in here. So we'll just have to add we'll have to, what's the easiest way to do this? Um, well, we could initialize our scene first. Yeah, that's what we should do. So let's initialize the scene before we load, but we won't render anything. So we'll leave the animate function down here. That'll probably be the easiest thing to do because the initialize function is what creates our scene, and that's where we need to add everything. So there's no one way to do this, but this will kind of save us from having to move too much stuff around. So I'm going to initialize the scene first. And so I'll take that out of here. And so then that should fix that error, but we should still, everything else should still work. There we go. Okay, so now we still have our bench. Our scene is nice and initialized, and everything is fine. And you can see it says loading complete here. So we can see that our manager worked, and we can get rid of that. We don't really need that on here. So the loading manager is actually quite simple to use. I didn't really change too much. I just moved this onload function and added the manager into my loader. And now for everything else that I want to load, I can just put the manager in there. So this is a little bit like using the preload function in P5, except P5 kind of handles a lot more of that type of stuff for us. So we have to add our own manager in here. All right, so now let's go and get our GLTF code. So I'm going to go to GLTF loader, and let's find some code here. So we're going to create a new loader. New loader is GLTF loader, and so I'll just paste that in here under load GLTF, and I can hide this again. And so now I just have to remember to put the manager in here. So I'm just going to put manager right here. And so that way it's going to wait for my GLTF to load. And I also now I'm using loader twice, which I can't do. So let's give this a different name. We'll call this GLTF loader. And so now we just have to give this GLTF loader the URL for for our model. Do we just say loader.load, and we're going to put the model URL in here in a second, so I'll just put some quotation marks there. And then we're going to have a callback function again, and this is my duck model. And then we need to handle that callback function here. And for now, let's just log this duck just to make sure it works. And now we just need to get the URL for this asset. So I'm going to open up my assets area, and I'm just going to grab this scene and copy the URL. So this is just my duck scene, scene.gltf. And this should at least have like some of the data and stuff in it. Actually, I think I'm going to run into an issue here. Okay, the bin probably needs to be there, but let's just see what happens. This probably actually is not going to quite work, but we'll figure out how to set it up right. Um, anyway, so I copied that. Let's go back to script.js, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And that's kind of long, so let's give it its own URL. So this is our GLTF URL. It's kind of a long line, so let's move that up here. And let's call this GLTF URL. And let's at least take a look at what happens when we try to do this. So let's reload our scene. Oh, I have to add the loader. Whoops, I skipped a really important step. I didn't actually add the loader code to my program. So let's go grab that from the three.js GitHub. So I'm going to go to three.js GitHub. So this is just like the other scripts we've added. I just forgot to do this. So we could just go to examples, go to JS, should be under loaders, and then get the GLTF loader. So this one isn't built in. The regular loader, I think, is built in. So we need the raw version of this, and I'm just going to save it into downloads, and then go back, and we just need to add it in here. So I'm just going to add a file, upload a file, get that GLTF loader, and click open. And then I'll rename this and just put JS in front, so it's in our JS folder. Okay, and then we have to add that to our index.html. So we have another script here. So there's a lot of different components, as I've mentioned before, in three.js that are not built in because the library would just be gigantic if it was. So we just load the components that we need, but sometimes we have to go and find those components. Okay, so now we have our GLTF loader, and so we can go back to our script and we can try this again. It should load. GLTF loader is not defined. Oh wait, I need to remember to add three.gltf loader to the front because we're using the regular style. And we have another error, script 27. Oh, I just forgot to change the name of this code. So I'm still using loader. Need to replace that with GLTF loader. Just making normal mistakes. And now see, we are getting all these errors because it can't find this bin. So I can upload the bin, but I don't know if it's going to know that it's there. Yeah, this is an issue. Okay, let's go back to my rubber duck and see if there's a different format I can download it in. Let's try a GLB. So I'm going to go with this smaller GLB. I think this maybe will be easier than the GLTF file. So let's go to assets and upload an asset. I'm going to go with my GLB. I think this actually will probably be better for this example anyway. Okay, now I've got a GLB. Let's copy this URL. And let's try that instead. So I'll go back to script.js. Let's delete this one and paste that in there. Okay, so now I've got my GLB. Let's try loading this again. Okay, now we've got a scene. So it loads it as a scene. And what we really want is not all of this stuff because it has all this stuff in it, like cameras, scenes. It has a bunch of stuff in here that we don't actually want. What we want is actually just the scene, which if we look in here, has the children, which has the object. That's the stuff that we actually want. So what we're going to load in here is not the duck object itself, but the duck.scene. So let's say scene.add duck.scene. And then if we wanted to like animate this or do stuff with it in the future, we'd have to assign it to a global variable. And so there's my duck. It's sort of like down here in this inside this tree. So let's move it around. But let's see, there it is. Looks pretty good. So let's give it a global variable so we can use it later. So I'm gonna say let duck, and then, well, actually, I already used duck here. So let's just change this to GLB, and so I'll copy this and put it here. And so what I'm going to do is say duck equals glb.scene, so I can just get the scene data that I want and then say scene.add_duck. And then I can also set the position here. So I can say duck.position dot set, and I'll put it like on the bench. Let's see, that might be challenging, but let's give it a shot. So let's see, the bench is, where's the bench? The bench is like at 555. So let's start at 555 and then I'll move it around. Okay, so my bench is offset a little bit. So let's move it. So this is where we have to remember the three.js coordinates. So if I'm looking right here, uh, let's try to imagine what we're looking at. So if we're looking at it like this, at least I'm pretty sure, so z is this way, positive, and negative this way. X, I'm pretty sure, is positive this way, negative this way, and then y, probably don't need to worry about, but it's positive this way, and y is negative going down. So I think we need to go back on z a little bit and plus on x a little bit. Let's give that a try. So I'll go back to my script. So x plus a little bit, let's try 7. Z back a little bit, let's try 3. And refresh. I can't tell if it moved at all. Okay, we're gonna have to go more. So for Z, oh wait, I was looking at the scale. Oh, whoops. Okay, the bench is at 20.5 and -5. Okay, so let's try that. And then I don't want it to be at the same level as the bench. I already know that. So let's try 4 for the Y. Okay, sweet. That was much easier, reading the correct position. So it's kind of overlapping with the bench a little bit. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but let's just move it a little bit forward and a little bit up. And otherwise, I think that will be good. Okay, that's pretty close. I'm not going to keep playing with that. So our ducks on our bench, that's not bad. Um, so yeah, GLB is a better format for this. I guess GLTF is better if you're not using glitch and you're on your own computer. But a GLB I think is going to be preferable in this case because it has everything wrapped in together. Um, and so yeah, we can see it's in here. It's got the right textures. The light is reflecting off of the textures. So that looks pretty good. And if we want to like animate this or do something silly with it, we've kind of already looked at this, but let's just animate our duck a little bit. So let's just go down to our animate function all the way down here. I'm just going to say duck dot rotation dot, let's animate around the y. We'll say plus equals 0.01. So just a really small rotation on the y every frame. And I think, there we go, we've got our duck is just turning around. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, you can do obviously a lot more stuff with that. You can make your own models, and you can do other models. Uh, but the GLB format is definitely going to be a little bit easier because everything is wrapped up in one file. And at least using glitch, since we can't actually control our file structure that well, or at least not that I'm aware of, it'll be easier to use a GLB file for that. But once you get it in the scene, it acts just like everything else that you would put in a three.js scene. So like if I wanted to make it bigger, I could scale it. I could say, where's my duck? Uh, duck.scale.set. Let's make it really big. Let's see what that looks like. It's probably going to look kind of silly. Yeah, that's a little bit too big. And we can't see our bench anymore. So that's not the best idea, but you can see I can pretty much do anything else that I would do with any of my other elements of my scene. So let's take that out for now. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to cover today. This is still the same link, but I'll share it again uh, in the um, in the voice channel chat. So if you want to remix this scene, that would be a fast way to get access to those scripts that I added in there today and yesterday, as well as the code that I added in, and you can modify it and add your own assets and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is a way that you can grab assets from different places on the internet, or you can make your own 3D assets, and then, excuse me, you can add them into your glitch project. So I'm going to stop recording there.